Good morning.
Good morning.
There is one presence and one power in this church, in our lives and in the universe. God the good, God the omnipotent. Would you please look in your hymnals on page 3 and say, "May to say them with me. God is absolutely good, everywhere present. 2, God lives in us, therefore we are inherently good. 3, we are co-creators with God and create our experiences through our thoughts. 4, prayer is creative thinking that heightens our connection with God and mind. 5, it is not enough to simply know these principles, we must live the truth we know. Will you please stand and sing hymn number 115, Lead On, O King Eternal, 115. Release all things past and prepare to begin a new life in divine consciousness. This consciousness is your strength, your power to overcome all adversity. This wisdom, purity, and power is your answer. It is truth, the truth that will set you free. With this Christ consciousness, you can begin a new life, and each new day will be a stepping stone to more joy, peace, and power. Even the most adverse conditions give you renewed understanding. You allow purity, wisdom, and love to work through you and make you shine wherever you are. You let yourself see new life, new purpose, and new meaning. You open your heart and mind to divine guidance, and you thus know that you are being directed on the right path. You you are renewed and made whole through your awareness of the divine presence in your life and the divine order all about you. You revere and dedicate your life to this divine, prevailing essence of life. Because of your choice to vibrate on these higher levels, you realize that your life is in divine order, successful. You bring success and wisdom into every area of your life. Knowing this, you are always keen, poised, accurate, and ever alert to your highest way of being and manifesting. There is a level-headedness, a common sense, a spiritual value in you which keeps you capable, stable, safe, and secure-oriented. The divine level of life is your source. God is your substance and power, and you are successful in everything you do. You attract, radiate, and express abundance and health on every level, and you manifest right action in all that you do and say. You expect the best. You love the best. You know what's best. And you give your best always. You are specific, definite, and positive about manifesting the best in your life for all concerned. You have an inner indestructible conviction in every atom and fiber of your being. You know that God's power and wisdom is the absolute law of your being. You do not feel confused. Whenever you have an important decision to make, you are inspired, for you depend on divine wisdom to guide and direct your ways. There is no need for you to go to first one person and then another seeking advice. You depend upon the prompting of God, for relying on God is how you save yourself from the confusion that results from being overloaded with the ways of the world. You know what is right. You are sincere, honest, straightforward, and upright. You create unity and understanding wherever you go. As you focus on the perfect wisdom of God, there is a sense of joy and contentment beyond compare. You become aware of the power of the Holy Spirit to help you through challenges. You know when you have the right answer because you feel right about it. You know it's the answer which is for the highest good for all concerned. You let the light of God shine through you, and you willingly give expression to it. You do not focus on unsuccessful attempts in your past. These negativities can be erased by knowing that through the power of God, you have been given new life. Just be open and receptive and allow God to express through you. This means being open to higher ideas than your own. When you are open to the ideas of the mind of God, emotional anguish is eased. unpleasant memories are transformed. As you move through each day and night, you let your vision be above thinking and your human mind. You climb the mountain and view circumstances with your Christ mind, and you thus know that all is in divine order. You let go and let God. So go forth today from this moment in the assurance that you live and breathe and have your being in truth, the source of the universe. Know that all is in divine order. You are divine, and as such you can manifest this divine order as purity, peace, and love in your life. And so it is, and so it was meant to be. Amen. Choir is going to sing the Lord and Father of mankind. And would you please stand and sing hymn number 61, I Am the Way, the Truth, 61.
The title of today's talk is If I Want to Be Free, It's All About Me. I touched on this idea last time I spoke, but it is such an important spiritual concept that I thought we'd delve into it much more deeply today. If we really want our lives to improve, we need to understand this concept in depth. So let me start by telling you a story. I think it kind of gets us on that wavelength of what I really want you to understand. Once upon a time, there was a man who was working out in his barn. When he came out to go check on his young children who were in the house, he noticed flames coming out of his attic. He took off toward the house, screaming at his kids at the top of his lungs to get out immediately. They heard their father, but they were just too engrossed in their new games they had just received to obey, and they were too young to understand really the concept of fire, to then fire near roasting marshmallows and having fun. The father was terrified because his young sons just wouldn't get out. They were oblivious to all the danger that loomed around. The dad burst in the house to get them, but they were so enthralled with their games that they ignored him. The dad grabbed the twin babies and yelled again at his sons, but they wouldn't budge from playing their games. The father beat the flames out of the house with the two infants, but within seconds, the flames started consuming the entire house, the old, dry wood. And he couldn't get back in. I know a lot of you all can imagine what that would feel like. All he could do is stand there and cuddle his two babies and watch what was happening. Imagine his anguish. Now, imagine, if you will, again, that the father in the story is God in full anthropomorphic human form. And we are those reluctant children inside who refuse to free ourselves. We're too engrossed with our little worldly games, and we're yet unaware, really, of what fire really means. That fire is the stress and physical and mental anguish that consume us often when we don't realize the danger of such things as negativity and judgments, prejudice, selfishness, hatred, that a large part of the world accepts as normal. These are world games. Like the kids in the story, some people just don't understand the suffering that their total absorption in our worldly gains can cause. And I'm not talking about God's wrath here, Old Testament wrath. When we drive the wrong way down a one-way street, it isn't God's wrath that causes a wreck and makes us have to go to the hospital. It's the law of physics, of course. That's why it's so important to know truth, be it law of physics or spiritual truths, and to live accordingly. It's what helps us have the wonderful life that we were meant to have. The Bible's full of stories about people who don't know or don't live this truth. There's Noah's Ark, Sodom and Gomorrah, Jonah and the whale, the chosen ones leaving Egypt, etc. Almost every civilization from way back has the same stories but with different details. So what are they talking about in today's terms? These ancient teachings from around the world, they all say the same thing. They all have their own creation stories, flood tales, locust infestations, etc., about the importance of choosing the right path, the path of truth. How can we be the chosen ones who don't have to endure the consequences of those disasters, which in modern terms we know is stress, mental and physical suffering of all kinds, and chaos, for example? How do we upgrade our consciousness to 4.0 so that we can free ourselves from life's flames? In simple terms, freedom means letting go, just letting go of all the negativity, judgments, and narcissistic programming that we inherited. We all inherited it. We weren't born that way. We all know how innocent little children are. So it's not really that hard, ultimately, to shed these things that make us so unhappy. Just sort of one peel at a time. We can't do it all in one day, of course. The stress that selfishness and hatred, prejudice, unforgiveness, etc. produce is the leading cause of mental and physical disease. In fact, remember the renowned psychiatrist Hans Selye, who back in 1937 was nominated for the Nobel Prize for his stress theory. He said that stress is the common denominator, the common link for every disease. We can have every other link to that disease, but if we don't have the stress link, we're not going to get sick. It's all about us, as Reverend Robert Roman often says. We create the world that we live in with our thinking. Third unity principle. And that is a lot of what the spiritual path is all about. Learning how to let go, one peel at a time, of this lower consciousness, these lower levels of our consciousness that create stress-producing negativity. And what is the secret to developing our higher consciousness? That is what every spiritual path for thousands and thousands of years have taught. We must regularly plug into what Unity co-founder Charles Gilmore calls the fourth dimension, or the God dimension. That is what the Hindu yogis do through meditation. It's what the Christian mystics do through prayer. It's what many Native American tribes do through dancing and drumming. It's the rituals that the ancient Egyptian mystery schools created. It's what Moses and Jesus did when they went up to the mountain before they came back down and taught these great truths. It's all about choosing to connect with this higher dimension, this higher level of consciousness. The idea behind all this is that the God force permeates the entire world. There's nothing else. But we must choose to plug into it. This is the deepest level of every religion I know of, except fundamental Christianity after 300 to 400 AD. When Christianity was changed by political leaders, God was anthropomorphized into a separate being out there somewhere. Reincarnation was taken out of the teachings, and many of the original concepts were thrown out. And the fascinating thing is that this idea of God the good being everywhere present is the very deepest level of Hindu Upanishads that we came out of, the mystical Sufi level of Islam, the Kabbalah, which is the Jewish system of mysticism, and all of Taoism. It's the very foundation of the deepest part of those mystical traditions. But think about it. It's the very beginning, the basis, the foundation of unity. It's the first principle of unity. We start where all those deepest levels got to. We've inherited all that. The first unity principle tells us that God is everywhere present. There is nothing but God in the universe. So what we're really plugging into is the real stuff of the universe, not the Maya or the illusion that many people mistake for truth. And you all know what I'm talking about. You know what the world is like out there. Lots of people are plugged into pretty worldly preoccupations. I find it interesting that this first unity principle is the deepest and most profound truth of most ancient and esoteric spiritual paths. It goes back further than the Egyptian mystery schools even. Today, it's what the true shamans seem to plug into in order to heal and give wise guidance. And it's certainly true of Christian Science practitioners. Christian Science is another New Thought church. They deal with plugging into this God level in order then to heal all kinds of, and I've seen thousands of healings in Christian Science. And Unity has always believed in healing too, and that's how they do it. Many ancient and modern rituals involve dancing and singing and drumming to help people get into that sacred state of oneness with Spirit. It's the starting point of all these ancient paths, saying that Spirit is everywhere. There's nothing but God. And we simply have to plug into it to be one with those powers and that wisdom. This idea reflects an incredibly deep understanding of the world and the way that this world really works. And it's amazing that 3, 4, 5,000 years ago, there were people who already had this. In the first 300 or 400 years of Christianity, the Christians emphasized that Jesus, the Christ, urged us to be one with the Father. You read that in the Bible, it's often overlooked. Be one with the Father. That's it. As he himself was. He said things like, these things that I do, ye shall do also and greater. It's pretty clear that he wanted us to be one with the Father, and that by so doing, we could then manifest the same attributes. God the good is not separate from us, out there somewhere in human form. God the good is everywhere present and in us. What is really amazing to me is that these ancient, profound spiritual truths have finally been discovered by quantum physicists, as Reverend Stephen has been talking about recently. For the last 50 years or so, physicists have written hundreds of books, like Fritz Copper's The Tao of Physics, about the fact that Eastern philosophy and quantum physics have finally merged. They're saying exactly the same thing. And this aspect of Eastern philosophy that they're speaking of is the first unity principle. That the whole world is unified and connected in one big quantum field. We are all one. There is no you and me. It's we. That's why Jesus said, what you do to the least of these, you do unto me. It's literally true. So, we can access this power and wisdom, love, and peace because we're one with it. Jesus the Christ told us that the realization of our oneness with this divine order, with God, is the very key to everything. Healing of all kinds and creating peaceful, joyful, prosperous lives. But we have, unfortunately, free will, right? As the parable of the Garden of Eden tells us so clearly. So we are free to eat the apple and create all kinds of chaos and suffering, like the young children were about to do in that burning house story. We have free will. But when we leave lower states of consciousness and align ourselves with this primordial intelligence and wisdom and love, we are able to transform our lives, be reborn. We free ourselves from many of the world's fears, stresses that enslave most people. We escape the burning house, so to speak. Humans' false belief in being separate from God, which many do, and each other produces, as we all know, hatred, unforgiveness, alienation, stress, and all kinds of negativity. On a mass scale, it manifests as war and man's inhumanity to man. We compete, we attack, we hate, and it comes back to us just like a boomerang. No one wins a war, right? 60 million dead in World War II is not a victory for anybody. So, and I'm not saying here we shouldn't or should have fought. I'm not getting into politics. I'm saying if everyone understood this truth and lived by it, it never would have happened. So how do we change our thinking and access this truth that sets us free? That's the big question. Despite all those influences out there that we're exposed to every day at work, in our neighborhoods, our friends, social media, etc., we're being barraged by things that are the opposite of truth. How do we create our world in God's image and likeness? Well, like all the ancient spiritual paths, we plug in and we start raising our consciousness a little each day. At the end of the day, we look at what we did, ask for forgiveness when we fell short, and tomorrow is another day. When we do this, we start attracting to us support from the outside world. We attract others of our consciousness, and we start resurrecting from purely worldly thinking and preoccupations. It just starts happening because we're on a different vibratory level, and we start then attracting that vibratory rate. It's like those algorithms that pick up what we're buying and watching and reading, and then only send us new propaganda, TV programs, and material products that we're already interested in. I know that's probably happened to all of us. Soon, we're no longer even exposed to any other points of view. Artificial intelligence is just mirroring back who we have chosen to be and what we're thinking, and then reinforces this. Life is one big algorithm. So, if we want to be free of negative influences, we have to change our thinking, which then creates our lives. For example, I recently bought 2 new dog beds online for my 2 Dobermans. I was soon barraged with ads for dog toys, dog insurance, dog toothpaste, dog toothbrushes. Have you ever tried to stick your hand in a Doberman's mouth and brush those back teeth? Not going to happen. That's how it works. Our thinking starts creating our lives. So, how do we change our thinking and plug into these higher dimensions? For today's purposes and simplicity, I've divided it into 3 steps. 1, commitment. 2, prayer and meditation. And 3, a practice, a daily practice. Sounds simple. It really is if we do it. Commitment is easy to understand. We just make up our minds and we make that decision. Do we want to go automatic and follow the latest morality, prejudice, entertainment, and herd mentality du jour? Or do we want to commit to higher, steadier, more eternal values? We can go on automatic and open ourselves up to whatever influences seem fashionable out there for the day, or we can make a commitment to choose a higher octane standard and get better results. We must decide how we want to live and then commit to it. If we want peace, order, love, compassion, joy, and prosperity of mind and body in our lives, we commit to higher consciousness that produces them. It's up to us. It's our choice. We commit, and that's it. Or not. Secondly, after you have decided to commit to a higher, happier, healthier life, it's necessary to keep that commitment by aligning yourself daily with that level of life, the 4th dimension or God dimension. It's like plugging your electric car in. If you don't, it doesn't go, right, Reverend Stephen? It just won't go if you don't plug it in. The best way I know to plug in is through daily prayer and meditation. Getting into the silence. Remember, Unity co-founders Charles and Myrtle Fillmore went into the silence an hour every single night. Many people meditate 20 minutes a day, 20 minutes twice a day. Others pray a few minutes every hour. In the old mystery schools and in Hindu Vedanta groups and American indigenous tribes, etc., there were elaborate rituals to help people get to that place. The point is to allow yourself to be immersed in, purified with these higher dimensions and vibrations, the God realm. We're told in the Bible and all spiritual teachings, like in the Hindu Mahabharata, the longest book in the world, that when a critical mass of people don't live this way in society, there are great floods, fires, disasters, which symbolize the chaos and suffering in our lives. When a significant number of us live truth, like used to be the case in some ancient societies, like the Han Dynasty in China, life gets really good for everyone. So pray, meditate, and go regularly into the silence to enable yourself to access these higher, life-giving dimensions in yourself. Third, after you commit to a better life, and daily tune into that dimension, God's channel, if you will, we need to develop a daily practice. This keeps us on the right track all day. It reminds us of our goal throughout the 24 hours. Lent is a perfect example of this. We give something up, and every time we resist or are tempted to resist, it reminds us of our commitment. Maybe your daily practice is reading Holy Works 15 minutes a day, or joining a meditation group, or seeking out spiritual friends, or giving up meat, alcohol, or caffeine for a while, or letting cars go in front of you in traffic. I bet all you men turn off on that. Or something, maybe smiling or saying hello to more people, or not gossiping. These daily practices will remind you of your commitment throughout the day. I did that with gossiping, and let me tell you, it reminded me almost every hour. When we start using these tools of commitment, prayer, meditation, daily exercises, we're going to start noticing soon that every experience that we have, no matter how seemingly bad at the time, becomes part of our practice. They can give us an opportunity to see ourselves, turn that light on. When we commit to a spiritual practice, it's like turning a light on inside, and we start seeing things that we never saw before. That's good. We start seeing our triggers in this school of life. All life, as we say so often, all life can be grist for the mill to learn from and grow from. Data that can help us honestly see what can be changed in our thinking so that we don't suffer anymore. Very often our most challenging trials are those that in the long run teach us the most. Every experience is an opportunity to remove some more of the illusion of our separation from God and all other people. All other people. Bottom line, when we realize our oneness with this unified energy field, this fourth dimension, these higher vibrations in life that we all have access to, it starts the healing process in us and manifests as peace, love, and a feeling of unity with all life and healing of mind and body. We resurrect, so to speak. We become the new man that Fillmore talked about. We are reborn. And when we are resurrected or reborn, we are no longer at the effect of life. It can just do its thing out there. We're at cause. Old limitations are seen for what they are, just faulty conditioning to peel away one layer at a time. We are then able to see the truth that sets us free, align ourselves with it, and change our thoughts, which change our world. Bottom line, if we want to get free, it's all about me. It's my choice. The Garden of Eden is there for all of us on a daily basis. It's everywhere. It's up to us to choose it or not. We can eat the apple, we can stay in the burning house, or we can go in peace. And the universe is always there, waiting for with its open arms and abundance for us. Our affirmation for today is, I know the truth and I'll let it set me free. Please repeat after me. I know the truth and I'll let it set me free. Wonderful. And may we bless our offering. I wasn't waiting for you to laugh. I was confused about the song. And now, may we bless our offering. Divine love flowing through me, bless us and multiplies all that I have, all that I give, and all that I receive. Divine love flowing through me, blesses and multiplies all that I have, all that
Son, and in the name of the Holy Spirit. It is so.
Couple of announcements. First of all, I would like to thank Reverend Mary Beth for her truth lesson. And you'll be able to see that truth lesson if you were signed up for the newsletter, or you can go to YouTube or Facebook to see that truth lesson. If I want to be free, it's all about me, as well as any of our other formal talks. And I would invite you all to go to our YouTube and our Facebook. Our Facebook, we're daily putting affirmations and little sayings to help you jumpstart your day. So, leave a like or a heart or something like that. Check it out, and it's just something to add, so that you can be inspired, something to help you. These are things that we're doing here at Indian Communities. Electronic giving is also in the foyer area by PC Wiki, and there's a little QR code where you can scan it if you are some of the newer millennials who don't carry cash, and I've been that person. So you can just scan your code and just enter your credit card information, and it goes to PayPal, and that way you can help support this ministry. Also, we have a couple of new people, and I was privileged to actually meet them myself. So there's a couple of people that I met myself, and that just led me to say maybe there's some more new people who we haven't met. And so, is there anyone else here for the very first time? Anybody? Oh. All right.
My name is Marcelo Rivera. I am a New Orleanian invited by Ms. Shanti Poole. My first time here, I really enjoyed the service. Thank you.
Thank you, Marcelo. So, would you mind standing?
Pardon me?
Would you mind or introducing yourself?
Oh, my name is Keith Mathern. This is my first time here. Just trying to find some inspiration from like-minded people like yourself.
Thank you, Pete. Welcome, Pete.
gentleman who I had the privilege of meeting. I don't see him here, but he's here. Would you mind standing, brother? Oh, yeah. Oh, there he is. I'm sorry. So sorry. Did you mind introducing yourself?
My name is Joe Nova. I live across the street. I just moved to the city, but I'm happy to be here. Beautiful beach you gave, so thank you all for being so welcome.
Welcome, and welcome. And one of our folks was actually somebody else. Oh, sorry.
No worries. Hello, everybody. I'm actually a substitute teacher, along with being I'm a producer. I hate saying musician, but I know the feeling. You're reading the names, or and it's just like you have to double up sometimes on reading the same name over. It's like it's hard to have that view of the entire room. I love it. I'm here for inspiration in my life. My dad's a pastor at a non-denominational church back home in Texas, and I've had to move several times for music. And it's been hard to really get a church that has like a similar faith of like, the pathway to God and everything. Because as a pastor, he's also a theologian. So I've, studied just about everything from the Bhagavad Gita to the Bible. And I want to figure out how to, use all of that to get to the one God that there is, apparently. So here we are. My voice.
And so, if you wouldn't mind filling out a little, see me after church, and fill out a form, we'd love to sign you up for our newsletter, so you can see what's going on with the church and things like that. All of you all could have chosen another place to be, and yet you're here. Yet you're here, and so we are so honored to have you here with us. So thank you. That's all. Mary Beth will go ahead and close us out and get us out of here, because I know the Saints are about to be playing soon.
Okay. The light of God surrounds you, the love of God enfolds you, the power of God protects you, the presence of God watches over you wherever you are. God is, and you are safe and secure. The Lord watches between me and thee while we are absent one from the other, and helps us to know that we are all one in spirit through our Lord Jesus Christ. And I now invite you to make a circle and join hands for our peace sign.